Hello, everybody, and welcome to the entertainment headquarters, and welcome to Education, my segment on the channel where I pick a genre within the foundations of pop culture, and I bring a guest on, and they educate me on that particular subject. And a subject that my good friend here, Mr. Gojira851, he offered to educate me on Resident Evil. So, Mr. Gojira851, I'll just tell you a little bit about me and Resident Evil. I had the first game, and I think the second one on the PlayStation, the very first one. And then I think when I got the PlayStation 2, I think the last game I got, I don't know what, I think Resident Evil 3 was for the PlayStation 2.
It's on PlayStation.
It was one of the next games that was on PlayStation, and that was as far as I got.
Okay.
So I know the story kind of the first game. I know a little bit about obviously the second game, but I haven't been a gamer for many, many years.
Okay.
So I'm going to let you take it away and educate me on Resident Evil. But the only other thing I'll mention that I know is Resident Evil is known as Biohazard in Japan. It is a Japanese horror game series and media franchise created by Capcom. It consists of survival horror third-person shooter and first-person games, with players typically surviving in environments inhabited by zombies and other mutated creatures. The franchise has expanded into media, including a live-action film series, animated films, television series, comic books, novels, audiobooks, and merchandise. Resident Evil is among the highest-grossing horror franchises of all time, and is Capcom's best-selling franchise with over 170 million copies sold worldwide as of March 2025. So that's pretty damn good for a game that started. I can't even remember what year the PlayStation come out, but I'll let you take over and I'll let you educate me on the ins and outs of the Resident Evil.
So zombies, good old zombies. Who doesn't like a good zombie? We got the old zombies from the 60s all the way to the 70s. We have, the old voodoo zombies, from old mythology. We have the Romero zombies, like the Night of the Living Dead, the Dawn of the Dead, all those fun zombie films.
Then you have the fast running zombies in Train to Busan.
Oh, yes. Fantastic film. One of the best zombie films ever made. And I don't want to talk about the sequel. Do not want to talk about the sequel, but
nope.
Capcom created a little game called Sweet Home. And it was kind of like the beginnings of Resident Evil. Now, Resident Evil was kind of the remake of Sweet Home. And it came out in 1996. Now, the premise of Resident Evil was is a survival horror game inside of this one place in the Arklay Mountains in the Spencer Mansion. Now, let's back up a little bit to the 70s. Now, back in the 70s, these three scientists, or at least three men, one of them is a scientist. It's commonly misconceived that they're all three of them are all scientists. Oswald E. Spencer, James Marcus, and Edward Ashford are all on safari in Africa. They're all looking for this special flower because they say that Africa is the birthplace of humanity. And in Africa, there is this special flower. And with this flower is the next step of life. Mm-hmm. So they say. Well, they find this flower finally in this remote place in Africa. And they finally start to, work on it, all three men. And they finally find something with it. And they extract from it what is called the progenitor virus. And from the progenitor virus, they all start to find different ways to work with it. Now, the first and main thing that they find is what is known as the T virus, or known as mostly as the tyrant virus, which brings us to the first game in 1996 on the PlayStation, where our Stars team, head by Albert Wesker, and is sent to the Arklay Mountains to the Spencer Mansion to find the Bravo team, who was sent originally to this place to find a rash of murders of missing people who've been killed, about 10 men by cannibalism. It's like cannibalism, like, wait, what? Doesn't make any sense. So the helicopter lands, and the dogs, not just any dogs, these are like monster dogs, and they're being ripped apart.
And then obviously I know when I obviously played the game, I do remember like the Rottweiler dogs that were like zombified.
Mm-hmm.
And then even in the Resident Evil movies, you get like the zombie dogs.
Mm-hmm. There's Cerebus, or yes, which Cerebus is a actual takeoff of Greek mythology. The keepers of the underworld. So they're actually the first thing you encounter in the game, and you actually have your choice of which character you'd like to play as. Now, in the original game, you can play as Chris Redfield, which is a mainstay of the entire franchise, all the way from the first game, all the way until the 8th game, and actually is adapted into the CG films outside, which we'll get to those. And actually makes an appearance in the live-action movie. Actually, both versions of live-action movies, but we'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can play as Jill Valentine, which...
Jill Valentine, I know, is highly popular.
Yes, and actually she's the easier version of playing the first game, because she actually starts off with a lockpick, and she actually has a more smoother gameplay of the two, where it's a little harder to play as Chris, because with Jill, she actually knows how to actually play the piano, so she actually knows how to solve certain puzzles easier than Chris does. Chris needs to rely on more people than actually doing with like Jill does. Jill actually has more smarts than Chris does. Chris is more the strong, tough guy, or Jill is the smarter one of the two. Mm-hmm. Not picking on anybody, I'm just saying that's the way how the game was designed. So anyway, over the night, it's all about survival horror. Yeah, to manage your resources, your inventory your slots, you have your guns, you have to find the keys, you have to find certain key items, different cranks, you have to find different things to open different doors. When is it time to carry all of your guns? When is it time to actually find this? When is it actually time to actually backtrack to go do this? When is it actually time to do it? You have to keep all these things in mind. Also, you're on a time limit the whole time. The game doesn't tell you this. You're on a time limit. There's a part of the game where you actually come across a different Stars member that's actually inside, Bravo team member inside of the Spencer Mansion. He actually comes across and actually gets trapped in there and actually fights the giant snake. If you find him, when you find him, you actually have a chance to actually save his life. You actually find the serum, and you actually can return to him in a certain amount of time and actually administer the serum and save his life. If you don't return to him in a certain amount of time, he'll actually die then. It's like, oh, okay. The game doesn't tell you that, though.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, there's time management in the game that doesn't tell you about. Now, there's also a traitor amongst you as well. Or there might be two traitors amongst you. The game doesn't tell you that as well. But as the story goes on, it's not just survival horror. It's actually espionage as well, because there's actually more treachery going on inside the mansion other than just the monsters that you're fighting. There's an actual corporation going on as well called Umbrella.
Yeah, Umbrella Corporation,
Yes.
who's like the giant biochemistry company that are creating like bio weapons.
Hmm. Which
Mhm.
on paper, they're the good guys. Oh, they're pharmaceuticals. Oh, they're making your skin creams. They're making you happy. They make they're all this stuff, but no. They just want your money. They want to create the next big thing. They want the next government contract so they can, make the next bioweapon, all those things. Actually, it comes to find out that the T virus is actually the next step in evolution that they want. And they want to sell the T virus to the next high bidder. And that the T virus is actually meant to reanimate dead cells and bring them back to life. So if a soldier falls, say like in the battlefield, and they are injected with the T virus, they'll actually rise up again, unable to be killed just as easily. But that's just the start.
So can I ask you a question? The T
Please.
virus,
Yes.
is that just the normal zombie virus?
That's the beginning. That's just the normal phase. The T virus is actually the beginning of other phases as well. The T virus actually, affects the dogs. It affects plants. And actually, where it comes from, the tyrant virus is actually the full name of it, is where Albert Wesker is actually the traitor. And he actually, has Barry Burton in the group as well. He actually, manipulates him by, kidnapping his family and actually has him as a traitor as well. He's there to actually steal the information for Umbrella. Well, for and against Umbrella as well, because he's actually working for another shadow corporation, which, you're going to be hearing this a lot. There's a lot of shadow corporations as well with this working for and against Umbrella as well. So it's like very confusing.
I was gonna say there'll be like more, because you often find like in like any film series or comic book series, animation series, whatever, you often find when you've got like a group of heroes and they're taking on a corporation, you always find later that there is a rival corporation, or there's something else out there, because obviously they've got to have something in the back burner, because when the story gets depleted where it's just the same people versus the same bad guys, they eventually have to introduce new villains or a new corporation or a new government to kind of change things up a bit and to get the story moving slightly in a different direction. So that doesn't surprise me if there's more than one organization that's claiming to be, because Umbrella Corporation done such a shit job, guess what? We're going to be the good guys and solve the problem, but they're probably just as evil or just as corrupt as Umbrella Corporation.
So their end game is the Tyrant, which is about an 8-foot tall humanoid monster thing, which ends up killing, by the way, Wesker, which, no one really stays dead in the Resident Evil franchise, by the way. You'll come to find out as well. And you have to have a climactic fight with this monster, whether you play as Jill or Chris in this. Both endings are essentially the same. And that's another thing that they tell you as well. With the timer and the decisions that you make, and which they're kind of like silent decisions that you make in the game as well. You actually have multiple endings to this game as well. There's the good ending where everyone survives, where you find Rebecca, you find all the other characters, and you all escape together. There's the bad ending where you just escape by yourself, and there's several other endings. But again, it's a really great game, and also it's a product of its time as well. It did come out in 1996, and it was a very cheesy game. Jill Sandwich, anybody? So, but still, a very fun game, and if you can play it, don't play the DualShock version because they did add a bunch of very aggravating music to it. But
like I said, like years ago when I had the PlayStation, I'm talking. That's how long it's been, years and years when I did have the PlayStation. I do remember playing, of course, Resident Evil. Couldn't tell you which version of the game I had. I do remember playing as Jill Valentine. That's as much as I can tell you. That's how far gone it is since I played these games.
So then we have the sequel. Possibly the best game in the franchise. Resident Evil 2 that came out in 1998, starring Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield. Now, this is the game that changed the game for Resident Evil in so many ways. Oh, this introduced the zapping system. This introduced us to so many dynamic new gameplay. Wow. Comes with 2 discs for each character. It's how big the story is, how you can play it. The story, you can actually make decisions as one character that actually influences the gameplay as the other character as well. Mm-hmm. When you beat the game as one character, you actually get an additional scenario as the other character as well, which means you can play the game 4 times and have a different ending for each. Well, essentially the same ending twice for 4 different characters, which is amazing. Very emotional gameplay for all characters. A very emotional story play for all of them as well. They update all the gunplay for all of them. Graphics are amazing. The voice acting, they learned from the first game and they stepped it up. So essentially, it takes place in Raccoon City rather than taking place just up in the mountains on the outskirts of Raccoon City. So the virus has made it now to civilization, which, yeah, they were hoping that at the end of Resident Evil, when they blew up the Spencer Mansion, that they actually contained T-virus and that it didn't make it out and everything was going to be fine. Well, no, this takes place a few months after, and no.
Raccoon City always, like, obviously with the movies and like everything else, it's always played a massive part in the franchise's story and history. Raccoon City.
Oh yes.
Like there was even that mini series that didn't go over too well on Netflix, which was actually called Resident Evil Raccoon City, I believe.
No, that was the movie, Resident Evil Raccoon City, which they took the events of the first game and the second game and merged them into a movie, which we'll get to that. But no, you're thinking of the Netflix show, which that wasn't really good.
Yeah.
I watched an episode or two, but I didn't care for it. Now, I get it. They're trying to do something different with that show. I respect them for trying to do something different with the show. It really stepped up the budget with the monster effects in that and the creature effects, especially the giant alligator scene and the other BOWs, which are bioorganic weapons.
Yeah.
But the same problems that that show did were the same criticisms that the Paul W.S. Anderson movies were criticized for. The clones, the hammy acting, just the goofy, storytelling is just no. And it got canceled after 1 season. Just wasn't what people were just wanting to sink their teeth into, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It just didn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the animated movies, I think, are faring better than even the live-action movies.
Yeah,
because I think you can do a lot more with animation than I think with live-action. You're kind of limiting yourself.
Mm-hmm. The CG movies are also canon to the games as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're fun little side stories that actually fit in with the games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so carry on with Resident Evil 2 because this is your favorite game by what I'm telling, what the vibe I'm getting.
I can't really pick a favorite because there's a lot of really good ones. but no, I'd say this one, yeah, I'd really say this is really highly up there. But so the virus is made to Raccoon City, and you can see that Umbrella's not only the real villain of this game. You can tell that there's actual other monsters in this game besides the zombies and the other bioweapons as well. Some of the humans are just as bad.
Mhm.
Some of them are almost worse than the humans. So now we come to find out there's another virus created by another scientist named William Birkin called the G virus, superior to the T virus in every way. And he wants to sell this to, you guessed it, the United States military. And
Mhm.
he's secretly wanting to sell it under Umbrella's nose to them. And they don't like that one bit. So they send in, their own mercenary group, the USCC, Umbrella Securities, or they send in their own team. I'm sorry, I suck with acronyms. They send in their own team.
Mhm.
And when they send in their own team, it's headed by this mercenary named Hunk or Mr. Death. Now, Mr. Death is actually a really cool character. He's clad in military gear, a gas mask. You don't really know about his physical features, but he's a survivor in just all of these things. And he's there to collect the G virus sample. Well, one of his guys has itchy trigger finger, actually shoots William Birkin, and
Mhm.
you think that it's over. Well, William injects himself with a sample of the G virus, and he becomes a monster
Nemesis.
of himself.
Is
Yes.
he the one who becomes Nemesis?
No. No, Nemesis is something else.
Mm.
And which Nemesis is just as bad, not worse than G virus Birkin.
Mm.
But so William actually, becomes the new baddie of this game. And come to find out that William is actually working with the chief of police for Raccoon City to actually, keep his dealings hush, really hush hush in the entire area. Which in the remake, you actually find out he's actually trafficking children to actually be test subjects. Yeah, you see what I mean by not only Umbrella are the villains of this game and of this series. Some of the humans are
Mhm.
just as bad.
Yeah.
So William, then tracks down Hunk's team, and he actually, tries to get the virus back out of Vengeance, and actually smashes some of the vials. And actually, now I got to recorrect myself. They actually did contain the virus. Now that I think about it, with the Spencer Mansion being destroyed, it's actually the rats that actually fed on the T virus, and the rats actually carried it throughout the Raccoon City like the bubonic plague, and actually
Yeah.
started biting people, and that's what recarried the T virus throughout Raccoon City. So yeah, I have to make a little correction there. Sorry, getting old. So anyway, that's when the new outbreak happens now in Raccoon City. So Leon and Claire now come to Raccoon City. It's Leon's first day on the job, and he's the first day on the job. He's by the book, guy for a cop, and Claire
Mhm.
is Claire Redfield, the sister of Chris Redfield from the first game, and
Mhm.
they're buddies. They have become fast buddies. Leon, meets up with the FBI agent, so she says, Ada Wong, and they go on their own adventure where Claire meets up with Sherry Birkin, daughter of
Sherry.
William Birkin. Yes. And they go on their own adventure, kind of like a big sister daughter, not big sister, little sister kind of thing, not daughter. Wow, why did I say that? But anyway, sorry, so excited. Mine's going low.
Well,
So
that's good to
again,
be excited. It's something you're passionate about.
yeah. So again, when you play both discs, they have their own adventures. So on the first disc, when you're playing them, they have essentially the same story. William Birkin is the main villain. But when you play as what I would consider, a lot of people would consider as the canon or the main story of what you would do is you play the game first as Claire. Because Claire and Sherry, they deal with William. And William is trying to, pass on his G virus to other people. The G virus, wants to always procreate and pass on itself. However, every time it tries with other people, like I'll give you an example. Remember the chief I was telling you about earlier? Well, in the game, Chief Irons, which is a monster, by the way, he's sent to, protect the mayor's daughter. Well, he ends up killing her and turning her into a mannequin. I'm just going to put it like that. Turns her into a mannequin. Guy's a monster. Okay, he's even worse in the remake, but turns her into a monster. Turns her into a mannequin. Dude's a monster. He ends up being impregnated by William Birkin with the G virus. Well, he's rejected, and he actually gets ripped in half, kind of like a xenomorph chest burster.
All right. Ugh.
Yes. So, which again, in steps, give a huge game step up from the first game. The graphics and everything. You can see how much this game is a step up from the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So the game steps on, and then it turns out that only family members can really accept the G virus. Well, unfortunately, you know what that means. He wants to, give the G virus to Sherry. Now, nothing is shown, but eventually Sherry is infected with the G virus. So then it becomes even more emotional when you're Claire and you're trying to save Sherry and get this G virus out of her. Yeah. So you have to go to the Umbrella facility, which is very close to Raccoon, which actually shows more of Raccoon's dastardliness. Having their facility so close to a populated area, creating all of these viruses, and then allowing it to be this close and have people be infected and see how everybody is transformed. Which is another misconception about this game. It's like in all the other Resident Evil games. Oh, it's so cool to pull out a gun and just start shooting zombies. Like, no, you're kind of supposed to kind of feel bad as well. It's like they were people as well. That's the other thing about zombies.
Well, that's the thing with the zombie genre in general. That's why things like The Walking Dead work so well, because when you're seeing a much loved character who became a zombie, you had that emotional connection and touch. Because obviously, like you say, they're not just mindless zombies, they were people that lived at once upon a time. So it makes perfect sense why, like you say, you should have emotion for these creatures and people.
So eventually you do get the G virus out of Sherry, which has positive effects actually on Sherry in the future, which we'll get to that in Resident Evil 6, which I'll try and speed this up when I know I'm kind of going a little crazy. We're already half hour in. I'll try and speed this up. And there's that. You fight William several times, and as the game goes on, he loses more and more of his humanity. He grows more eyeballs, and his actual humanity actually seeps more into the monster as the monster grows over his body. You kind of see him get merged in with it, and it's just sad and gross at the same time. And eventually you do kill him. But that's that. And then you play side B as Leon, because when you play side B as Leon, he's constantly confronted by this pursuer known as Mr. X, the Tyrant, which in the first game, the Tyrant was what Umbrella always wanted. That was their ultimate weapon. However, they couldn't control it in the first game. In the second game, they finally figured out how to control it. So that was their overall goal, because when controlling the Tyrant, that was like their ultimate weapon that they could sell to any military pretty much around the world. Things worth billions, maybe even trillions of dollars. Thing stands about 9 feet tall, weighs about a ton, immense strength, and practically indestructible. And if you take its control code off, it then mutates to like something else, even more indestructible. So money, 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 money. So anyway, you play as Leon B. You play and you have Ada along with you. Also, multiple playable characters as well. You play as Ada in Leon's story. You play as Sherry in Claire's story as well. But anyway, you then go through Leon's story. You do all the same things. You then you fight the Tyrant instead of fighting William Birkin. There's a Jaws reference in this game as well. There's a giant alligator, which you can have him eat a canister and actually blow its head off. Smile, you son of a bitch, just like in Jaws. Which these games kind of have little movie references as well.
Yeah, I do know, didn't I? Even though it was shit and I didn't even watch it. I know, didn't they? In that ridiculous Netflix series, miniseries, didn't they bring in a giant crocodile?
Yep, they did. Except they made it like almost the size of King Kong at one point. I was like, okay, wait a minute, but it's just it's in the past. Anyway, it is what it is. So eventually, there's like a heartfelt goodbye between Leon and Ada, where she's seemingly dead. Moves on. Then you get the true ending where you finally kill William, and then Leon and Claire are like, we're gonna get Umbrella. Claire's like, I need to find my brother Chris. Game's over. Excellent game. Awesome stuff. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. Awesome stuff. It seems like I'm kind of glossing over it. I'm not. It's an excellent game.
Yeah, and I like how the stories, like, it flows easy from the first one to the second one. Like it flows like organically into one another. One's in the mansion on the outskirts of Raccoon City. Think the virus is gone, then suddenly, boom, it's now inhabited the city that it's next to. It escaped the mansion and is now in Raccoon City. So it's good how they kept the story and they stayed connected to the characters that were originally in the first game as well.
Okay, so now we have our first big controversy of the Resident Evil franchise. The real Resident Evil 3. Now, I say Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is the real Resident Evil 3. However, another game came out called Resident Evil Code Veronica. Now, Code Veronica was a gamble for Resident Evil and for Capcom. A console named Sega Dreamcast came out. And they decided to put the Code Veronica on the Dreamcast, and they put a lot of really big, graphics into that game. And they placed, Code Veronica on the Dreamcast. Now, not a lot of people own the Dreamcast, so that kind of hurt that game really badly. Where for Resident Evil Nemesis, they kept this on PlayStation. Now, you'll see in this that I put a lot of clips from their remake on there as well. But anyway, they kept Resident Evil 3. They kept it as Resident Evil 3 on the original PlayStation. And it was one of the last games to actually come out for the PlayStation. For the PlayStation 2 came out. And another one. This is another game I really like. And there's actually a Terminator 2 reference in this game as well. But we'll get to that in a second. So,
can I ask, was Resident Evil 3 still on the first PlayStation, or was it on the PlayStation 2?
It was on the first PlayStation.
Right. See, I have played Resident Evil 3, but I'm sure I've seen it on the PlayStation 2. But
now, here's the thing, though. The PlayStation 2 was backwards compatible. You could play PlayStation games on the PlayStation 2, so you could be right. You could have played it on the PlayStation 2, but it was released. It was released for the PlayStation.
Because they're the first 3, and they're the only 3 games I've played. That my memory serves me right.
Well, and it's a fun thing. They're known as the Raccoon City Trilogy. So, okay. So, wrapping up the Raccoon City Trilogy, we play as disgraced police officer Jill Valentine, where she came back from the mansion, and where Chris actually took a leave of absence to actually go on vacation, where really he went to go hunt down the Umbrella over in Europe. Jill stayed behind, and she was telling everybody about the mansion. She was saying giant snakes, giant spiders, zombies, tyrants, Wesker's a bad guy, all these things. Now, Wesker was a decorated, he was a decorated police officer. Everybody loved Wesker. Zombies, nobody believed in zombies. Giant spiders, no one's talking about giant spiders, okay? No one believed her. Everybody thought she was insane. Okay, no one believed that there were really zombie dogs. All right, yeah, the mansion blew up, but there was no evidence of anything that she was talking about. Everybody thought that she went. Okay, at the beginning of the story of Resident Evil, I had to bring this up. The helicopter pilot immediately left, so he couldn't corroborate any of the things that they were talking about in the story as well. So everybody thinks that she's nuts, and meanwhile, she's actually having like PTSD and having nightmares and everything. So she's given a forced leave of absence from being a police officer as well, being deemed mentally unstable. So a few months go by, and then essentially a few days, no, I think 24 hours, I believe it is, before Resident Evil 2 happens, Resident Evil 3 happens, which, it's a little confusing, but anyway. So Jill is making her desperate escape from Resident Evil, from Raccoon City, to get out to, get to safety. Where when she's trying to escape, she is being stalked by Nemesis, one of the most popular pursuing beings in all of video gaming.
He's like become a game icon, hasn't he?
Yes, he's like Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers mixed together, and he's one of my favorites as well. He's awesome. In the original game, he's awesome. In the remake, he's very lackluster. I wish they worked on him a little. I wish. What do the kids say nowadays? I wish they cooked a little longer. Was that the kids say nowadays? Yeah, they wish they cooked a little longer with them. So anyway, he could appear. Okay, good.
I was just going to say, speaking of Nemesis, I remember how great he was in the game. I do remember that. And then obviously when they started the film series, I was so looking forward to seeing him on the screen, the big screen. I was so disappointed in the version that they brought out in the film series with him and Mila Jovovich, who stars in the game. I thought, they could have done way, way better with Nemesis in the films compared to the Resident Evil games. Like, especially when they knew his popularity and knew the kind of character he was and how he had a huge following. I feel like they wasted a huge opportunity in the movie compared to the games. I don't know if you feel the same as I do.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, but I think those movies had a problem with perception. They were focused on the wrong thing in those movies. Her name was Alice, and they were completely focused on her. And again, I don't hate Mila Jovovich. I think she's great at what she does. Okay, I enjoyed her in Fifth Element. I think she's a swell person in real life. But these movies are called Resident Evil. I wanted adaptations of Resident Evil. I love the first Resident Evil. Okay. And I thought after that, fine. You told her story, fine. The second movie, just tell the rest of the games, fine. No, that's not what they did. It's so not what they did. And and then
a lot of people were pissed as well because they didn't bring in Jill and make her the main focus at the continuation films, like the continuation of the story and the sequels of the films. They focused on Mila Jovovich's character, Alice. And it helps though when your husband is the director and the creator of the movies.
Yeah.
You know, that at the bottom of the line, she was cast in that role because her husband was directing the film. And it reminds me of the same thing whenever you hear a movie being made by Rob Zombie. You're guaranteed that Sherry Moon is going to have a role in the movie, not because she's potentially a great actress, but because of who her husband is.
I mean, where's the lie?
There's no lie, it's the truth. The best role she ever did, you've mentioned the movie The Fifth Element. Ever since then, she's had the odd role where she's tried to become like the top female action star out there. And I'm not dishing her talent. She has talent as an actress, but I just feel like she's limited herself in the roles that she does. And it sounds like she's like a one-trick pony. Like, I'd like to say I do more. I'd like her to be more versatile, but the next thing we'll probably see her in is another Paul W. Anderson movie.
Well, to kind of go back to that, they pigeonholed her in that, unfortunately, because they've, for all these movies, because the first one, came out, 2002, and they went all the way to 2006. The last one came out in 2016. She's pretty much done nothing else. She did, Three Musketeers. That was another, I think, was that another Anderson movie, or am I incorrect with that?
No, the next Anderson movie, I think he did the Monster Hunter film.
Okay. But
and then she also, there was that film that came out last year, which was with her and Dave Bautista, which was like a fantasy film, which bombed.
Oh.
I forgot the name of the movie, but he directed that. She was the female lead, and it didn't do that great, unfortunately.
Well, unfortunately, she's been pigeonholed into something, and I feel like there's nothing wrong with her, working with her husband. It's just take a script that doesn't have his name on it, and do something else.
Mm-hmm. The Lost Lands was the name of the film with Dave Bautista. And it was released, I think, was only in the theatres for a week. It's taken out the theatres, and it's now currently on Netflix.
Oh. I'll check that out at one point. Can you pause the stream for a sec?
Yeah.
So Nemesis actually can only mutter the words stars. Okay, so he kills Brad, who's the helicopter pilot actually at the beginning of Resident Evil. The first one actually flew off. But it's funny, it's actually he stood up for her in the first game, and when it came back, which maybe she wouldn't have such a problem. But it's funny, in the remake, he's actually more on her side, and actually sending her pizza and sending her food and everything, and sending, giving her like words of encouragement, in the remake. But actually, to step aside from the main story, but I want to talk about the remake just real quick. When that game came out, it came out at a horrible time.
Are you talking about the remake of Nemesis?
Yes.
Right.
It came out during not so good time of human history because we were going through a pandemic, and Resident Evil has to do with zombies, and epidemics, zombie, viruses and stuff like that. And it was released as a full retail game, and a lot of people were upset with that. Especially, yes, there was a lot of stuff cut with that game. I agree. Don't cut content. I hate it when content is cut from games. However, when I got the game, I sat and I played it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Is it better than the first one? No. The first Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is the far superior game. Will I sit here and say the remake of Resident Evil 3 remake? Yeah, it's called Resident Evil 3 Remake, and they didn't work on that name. But anyway, Resident Evil 3, the remake, is a fun game. It's cheap now, especially since Resident Evil Requiem has come out. It's very cheap to purchase. Also, if you shop at Walmart, they've got for like $20, in the entertainment aisle. You can buy it cheap there. So if they haven't played it yet, it's very cheap to get. Also, the downloadable content for it, it's all very cheap. So I highly recommend it. It's a fun game, and it's got a little bit of survival horror, not as much survival horror to it like the original does. Has some elements to it, and it looks absolutely fantastic, and it's fun to play. So yeah, I recommend it. Is it the thing that I would like stop the presses and play? No, but if you're like holding out because you're upset with it, it's not worth being upset about it. It's a fun game. Okay, so I'm off my high horse. Let's talk about the game, the original, and let's talk about the story. So
yeah.
As Jill, you're trying to fight through. You're fighting zombies. You're fighting other, bioweapons as well. The drain demos, which actually these big bug monsters actually try to suck your brains out. Which in the remake, okay, I know I just glazed the remake, but I don't really want to talk about the drain demo, but because they actually, poison you in a not very flattering way. You can look that up if you want to. So you fight those, and you come across some more Umbrella security services, and you find the character Carlos. Now, Carlos in the original game is a stereotype of a normal guy, and it's not fun. Now in the remake, he's a much better character in the remake. He's a stronger character. He's a funner character. Where in the original, he's a stereotype. He's not fun to be around. You just want to smack him all the time. And it's funny. They actually have Jill smack him a bunch of times in the remake, in the original. Now, to talk about the original, there's actually a really cool concept that is the live choice, kind of like your choose your own adventure kind of thing. When you first come across Nemesis, there is two options, and you can actually make this option. You can actually fight Nemesis the first time, which if you have the guts, you can do this. You can actually fight Nemesis the first time. Most of the time, it's not a good idea, because if you don't search around and you just go straight to the police station, you'll just have the pistol. Yeah. Not a good idea. Not a good idea, because Nemesis will just grab you, throw you around, and just kill you immediately. You'll just be underpowered. You'll be like soft locked, and you won't be able to kill Nemesis. If you search around, you find like the shotgun, or if you're have the the ability to find anything more powerful in the shotgun, then you can actually down Nemesis. Now in normal mode, which actually the game actually supports two difficulties. Normal mode and an easy mode. Easy mode actually lets you start off with a machine gun, which eventually you get down Nemesis, but blah, blah, blah. When you play normal mode, every time you down Nemesis, he drops gun parts. And every time he drops gun parts, they actually, can build better guns. The first gun you get is like a special handgun. And actually looks like the AMT hardballer from the first Terminator. The 45 long sight with the laser sighting. It's like, okay, someone's a movie fan. If you fight him the second time and you collect more parts, you actually get the Western shotgun, which is the lever action shotgun from Terminator 2. So it's actually really fun to fight Nemesis and actually get these parts. So it's actually, it's very advantageous to fight Nemesis in this and actually do those. Now, later in the game, he doesn't really drop the parts, because the more lethal things you do to him, you're not really fighting him. So he doesn't really drop parts. So there are those.
It's nice, though. It's nice what you've said, though, how like certain films are influencing the games, and that have like references or homages, as you would like to call them, to popular films that the creators of the game have obviously taken influence by. So I think that's a really nice touch.
Mm-hmm. Especially the Western shotgun. I love that gun so much. I watch Terminator 2 anytime. That gun is so cool.
Oh, I could watch that anytime.
So good. So eventually, you and the other Umbrella Security Services, and these are the surviving members. You eventually make your way to the clock tower. Nemesis kills more of them. But anyway, you make your way there, and Jill gets infected, and you actually play a segment as Carlos. You heal Jill, and Nemesis actually starts to go into more of a mutation state, and you have to fight him off again. And then you find your way to a chemical plant. You call on a helicopter. You fight off Nemesis a third time, more like a fifth or sixth time. You think you defeat him until you fight him the last time, where he turns into this massive, like almost like bug-looking thing, where he actually feeds on dead tyrants that are actually laying around the battlefield, and he begins to mutate even more. And it's like, will this thing ever die? Until you see that there's a massive railgun in the room. You shoot him until he goes into a corner, and you fire the railgun, and it seems like you've killed him. And you get one final choice: stay and kill the monster or leave. And then you stay. Obviously, you got to stay and kill the monster. If you just leave, it's kind of an anticlimax. You stay and kill the monster, and you get the fun line. You want stars? I'll give you stars. And Jill takes out a revolver, and she fires 7 shots from a 6-shot revolver and kills Nemesis finally. And that's the end of the game. She flies away with Carlos in the helicopter. Fun stuff. And that's Resident Evil 3. Where in the remake, you kind of get the same ending where you think you're going to get the antivirus and fix Raccoon City, which... I don't know, if I was a zombie and half my head is missing from the virus, I wouldn't want to really be cured. I don't know. What about you, Kevin? You want to be cured from that?
Oh God. Well, I wouldn't want to get the virus in the first place.
Well, yeah.
So, I'd rather not get it at all, but obviously depending how the virus is and what's going to happen if it's just blow me damn head off.
Or let's just say, like your arm's falling off. It's like, yeah, I think the cure's never really fixed that, But anyway, so that's Resident Evil 3, and that wraps up the Raccoon City trilogy. So now we have the kind of spin-off games from the Resident Evil franchise, which I'm going to lightly touch on these because they are, some are canon, some are not, and some are, not so, none of them are not so good.
So is there a Resident Evil 4?
Yes, there is. That one comes out a little further down the line. So first, we have Resident Evil Survivor, which is a light gun exclusive game to Japan. However, it did make its way over here to the United States and other parts of the world as well. However, there was a kind of a bad thing involving firearms back in the time. They didn't release the gun accessory for the light gun thing with the PlayStation. So you had to use a controller to control the reticle. And you play as a security guy named Ark Thompson, which has memory loss. So you think that you're actually a guy who works for Umbrella. You fight, bad guy monsters. You eventually fight a corrupt guy from Umbrella who turns himself into a G-virus monster. You eventually survive. You fly away on a helicopter, finding out that you're a good guy the whole time, working with Leon Kennedy from the second game, trying to expose Umbrella. That's essentially that game. It's
it's like having a spin-off from a movie, isn't it?
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Then there was Code Veronica, a fun game which also takes place on an island, Rockford Island, where you play as Claire Redfield, trying to escape a prison compound. Headed by Umbrella. I believe it's Umbrella. I haven't played this game in a long time. And you're trying to escape as Claire. You run into Albert Wesker, which again I told you earlier, you don't stay dead in the Resident Evil franchise. And eventually you come across Chris Redfield as well. The Redfields are back together. And then you come across Ashford twins, which is the children of the original founders of, Umbrella. You have to fight with them. And it's a fun game, bit cheesy, but fun game. And I heard they're actually in the works of doing a remake for that. Next after they finished up with Requiem, so looking forward to that. Then we have the other light gun games, Resident Evil Survivor. Wait, no, not that one. Hold on.
I think you said Survivor before.
No, there's Survivor 2. Yeah, Survivor 2. However, that one wasn't released in the U.S., unfortunately. Okay, so I didn't play that one. Then there was Resident Evil Gaiden, where you play as Leon. That one's on the ship. I didn't have a Game Boy Color, so unfortunately I can't really speak to that one. Then we have on the GameCube. For Nintendo, we have the remake of Resident Evil, the first one, which was an excellent game. Where essentially it's the first game of Resident Evil, and sorry, I'm losing my voice for some reason. All new graphics, and essentially it's the same game. However, all new graphics. However, they changed some of the puzzles and create new scenarios, create some new monsters. One of the cool new monsters they create for the zombies. Actually, if you kill some of the zombies, their bodies don't actually disappear now. The bodies actually stay inside the mansion. Yet after an hour, if you don't destroy their bodies will actually, begin to mutate and actually become what they call crimson heads. And they'll actually get up even stronger and actually become harder to kill. So the only permanent way to kill a zombie in the remake of Resident Evil is actually to destroy their head with, say, like a shotgun blast to the head or like a magnum. So that was a fun. And also they updated the other boss battles, like Neptune, the giant shark in the basement. So, yeah. Then we have the first prequel of the series, Resident Evil 0, where you play as Rebecca Chambers, which was featured in Resident Evil, the first one, where you meet her with Chris's campaign, where she helps you solve some of the puzzles, mainly the Moonlight Sonata piano puzzle. And you fight alongside Billy Cohen, the prisoner. There's that. Then we have, oh boy, Resident Evil Dead Aim, which is another light gun game released for a PlayStation, where it's a point and sorry. Where you survive on a cruise ship and where the gun actually is the controller as well. They actually released the gun for that as well. That was a somewhat fun game. Oh, then we have the other fun side games as well, which are canon and aren't canon at the same time, depending on who you ask. The Outbreak Files, which were the first multiplayer Resident Evil games. Outbreak File 1, Outbreak File 2, where they actually give you 6 different characters to play as. And you're inside Raccoon City, where you play as a police officer, a waitress, a bartender, a mechanic, and some others, and you have to make certain decisions to stay alive during the outbreak. And there's multiple missions, and you have to survive during different scenarios. There's Outbreak File 1 and 2. They were going to do part 3. However, that one ran out of funding, from what I understand, and they never released it. Now, finally, okay, the big lull period between the numbered entries. We finally get to Resident Evil 4 in 2004. We have Leon Kennedy being tasked by the President of the United States to go over to Europe to find his daughter, Ashley, President Graham to find his daughter, Ashley Graham, from a secret cult and bring her back safely. And oh boy, this is where the game series really changes, where some really love this game. A lot of people love this game. Some people really hate this game. And some are really, on the fence. I love this game. I love the remake as well. Oh, it is. And by the way, Glory Las Plagas, by the way. Sorry, I have to say that. But so it goes from your original fixed camera angle to a third person angle, where it's like over the shoulder third person. It has essentially the same kind of aiming kind of way, where like you have to point, you have to aim, or same, except instead of up, mid, and down, you can actually point all different directions. When your enemies, who are actually not just zombies anymore, they are infected villagers. They actually have a mind. They actually have tactics. They actually have the abilities to actually think three-dimensionally rather than just and just walk towards you and just grab you. No, they actually use weapons. They actually throw weapons. They actually do things. They actually speak. They actually try to confuse you. Whenever you point your gun at them, they'll actually duck and actually try to weave out of your way as well. It's a game where you actually have to stop and think of what you're doing. There's actual villains in this. No, villains. There's monsters in this game that actually are one-hit kills. Now, there was a one-hit kill monster in the first game, the Hunter. Now, in this game, there's a Dr. Saller, where he has a chainsaw. He gets close and he can cut your head off with one hit. Now, essentially, you have to make your way through this village and then make your way to the castle to find Ashley. Now, eventually you do find her, and now this is where a lot of people start to hate the game, because once you find Ashley, they find her extremely aggravating. And I'm not going to lie, she's very aggravating, because in the original game that came out on the GameCube, which again was another gamble that a lot of people thought was for Resident Evil to have Resident Evil on the GameCube instead of the PlayStation, because the PlayStation sold, I think the PlayStation 2 actually was one of the highest selling consoles of all time. However, when the Resident Evil Code Veronica came out, they had it came out. It didn't do very well because it came to the Dreamcast, so they were worried about it going to GameCube, but GameCube sold like hotcakes because of Super Smash Brothers. So when Code Veronica, when 4 came out to GameCube, it sold very well. Well. So it didn't do it. It didn't have any problems at all. So, but Ashley Graham, in the original, always yelling, always complaining, always whining. But eventually you learn to, to deal with it. You just kind of tune her out in the right way. You play in the right way. You find the right guns to use. And they inject the right amount of humor into it, which a lot of people hated because they feel like it should always be just nothing but horror. It's like, no, the game's evolving now.
Yeah, grounded in horror, but then even in horror films, you have that odd bit of humor to lighten the mood.
Yes.
In the like Scream will always have a funny character that brings the humor. 9 times out of 10, that character will get killed eventually, but it's because if it's just all about the horror all the time, people will tune out.
Mm-hmm. This guy, he have some levity to it.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually,
it has to be like an equal balance.
Mm-hmm. So eventually, you do save Ashley in this game, and instead of a virus, it's a how do I put it? It's a parasite. Now they've actually dug up this new type of this parasite. It's called Las Plaga, and they actually inject it into the villagers and to other soldiers. Now this is the new big generational thing that everybody wants, and Lord Sadler can control people with this, and it goes from just a straight up rescue mission to actually now you want to save the world from Las Plaga, and you actually end up fighting Lord Sadler, and you actually kill him and save the world. And then you find out that Ada Wong is still alive, which is good and also very confusing as well. It's like, hey, how did you survive your fall? But whatever. They actually explain that in a side story as well in a different game as well. But fun game. It took Resident Evil in a different direction, and while also being true to the franchise. So, but also a thing that I didn't like, because I just don't like this in games. It introduced quick time events. You have to constantly smash the run button, and then you have to quickly press other little buttons at the right time to get out of the way, which I didn't really care for that. Now they took that away in the remake, which I was grateful for. But others, once again, they didn't like that. So I feel like there's just no happy balance no matter what happens. So It is what it is. So, but Resident Evil 4 is one of the best ones that's out there. Mm-hmm. Okay, so where are we from there?
5.
Okay. I think I'm going to skip the rest of these little side things because we'll be here all day. Yeah. All right, let's just go right to 5. All right, so number 5. Well, let's go to Resident Evil 5, where we go to where it all began. So to say, we have Resident Evil 5. We are going to Africa. Oh boy, we're going to Africa. We're going to Controversy Land. Oh, I remember when this game was announced. Oh boy. Where Chris Redfield is driving a Hummer into a African village, and he is fighting for his life, and everyone is upset. Well, the story is always meant to go to Africa because that's where the flower is. That's where they found the progenitor virus. It was always meant to go to Africa, and yeah. So
in the birthplace of humanity, apparently.
And yes, well, that's the big thing that was said about, and yeah. So this is the first game that actually, from a gameplay stance, you can actually do co-op as well. Well, no, this is the second game you can do co-op, where you can actually have Chris and the new character, Sheva Alomar. Now, playing with a friend, it's wonderful to have someone play as Sheva. Just sit back, have fun, shooting the Majini. Yeah, you're fun. Having the AI play as Sheva, or if you're playing as Sheva, that's the thing. If you beat the game, you can play as Sheva if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
If the AI is controlling Chris, you're going to pull your hair out. The AI is not that good in this game at all. And it's just, it's aggravating. You might as well take all the guns from your AI character and just play the game by yourself. That's how aggravating it is. Now, others have said, oh, you're just not playing it right. okay, if you say so, but when I play it, the character always runs into certain death, even when I have them on defend. They just run forward. When I give them a simple gun, they just stand in a corner and just shoot at a wall and just. No, I just rather just play the game by myself. So anyway, so you go to this village and you meet up with Sheva Alomar, and you get geared up and you find out that Albert Wesker, yeah, good old Wesker is back at it again, and he's with his new company Tricell, and they were trying to create the new virus known as Ouroboros, and with Ouroboros he wants to infect the entire world and cause the entire world to evolve. And it's a grand game, but also kind of small at the same time. It's fun, but also kind of aggravating. I give this game about a B+, I would say.
Would you say the fourth one is better than the fifth one?
I would say it. Yes. Now, I'm not saying that this game is bad, because there's elements of this game that just I like and bother me at the same time. Now, playing it comes down to the forced co-op stuff that you have to do, and they force you to do. I would say. Now it's like, oh, you're supposed to play with a friend online. I don't want to play with a friend online all the time.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me. Okay. And then trying to give
it's nice to have the option to play online with a friend, but you'd rather have a game where it has a single mode or a single story objective instead of just because if it's like a co-ed game, then it should be advertised as that.
Also, the game is really ugly to look at as well. There's actually like this filter over like the camera as well the entire time. It's just unpleasing to look at a lot of the time. It's almost like a sepia tone almost. It's like it's not fun to look at. It's like I wish I had more vibrant colors as well. It's not a game I like coming back to. It's like if they like re-release it like for like a modern console, like I'll go through it once just to play it and just all right, then I'm done. I'll just delete it and then I'm done with it. So you play as the characters, Chris and Sheva, and you're going through and you want to defeat Wesker and his new company Tricell and stop him from releasing Ouroboros. Traveling through Africa, you go across, the Majini, where's his, infected. It's almost like the same. It's kind of like the same story as Resident Evil 4. The villagers are infected with this, virus. You're trying to stop them. There's a one-hit kill bad guy with a chainsaw. Yeah, make sure you don't deal with him. Okay, and then you go to and then there's actually a giant enemy. Just like in the first game. There's like more on rail shit. This is like the biggest action game that they have created. It's mostly nothing but like shooting. It's all shooting. Like there's no real survival horror. It's all shooting. So it's like, I think maybe this is the reason why I don't really gravitate to it as much. A lot of people don't. It's fun, but it's not great. So anyway, so eventually you do run into Wesker, and you come to find out that you had a chance to defeat Wesker in the past, and you did your best. However, Wesker is too powerful now because you come to find out that Wesker is actually manufactured. You ever watch The Boys?
Yes.
The character Homelander?
Yes, how he was created in a lab.
Yes, so essentially Wesker is kind of like that as well. He's not as powerful as Homelander, but he's like that. He's one of the Wesker children, except he's he's one of the two surviving Wesker children, and he's extremely powerful. So Chris and Jill at one point actually track him down to the original, one of the original creators, Oswald E. Spencer's mansion. and they have a chance to defeat him. However, he's too powerful, and Jill actually tackles him out a window, and they fall several hundred feet to the ground. You think that both of them are dead. However, you see that Wesker has survived, and that Wesker has actually saved Jill and actually brainwashed her. Actually turns her into a villain to fight Jill, to fight Chris and Sheva. You actually have a fun fight which actually Wesker and Jill are actually the best parts of this game. We actually have to fight both of them at the same time. And then you actually fight Jill, and she's actually been upgraded with this, mind control and this actually control thing in her chest. And you actually have to break the mind control and, get her back to the good side pretty much. And you actually do survive. She survives from it, and she becomes good again. And then you have to hunt down Wesker. And eventually you do. And it's funny. He's still too powerful to the point where you're actually shooting rockets at him. He's actually catching rockets, and it's not phasing him. And you actually have to inject him with the progenitor virus again.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, when you do that, it actually causes his, cells to overload. He becomes, infected with even more of what he has. He actually infects himself with Ouroboros as well, to the point where you actually have to have a fight with him inside of a volcano. Yeah. See how crazy this game is? And then when you actually think you have him defeated, he's actually hip deep in lava. He's still alive. You actually have to kill him with rockets. You and Sheva shoot him in the face with rockets, and then eventually you do defeat him.
He didn't turn into a kaiju, does he, next?
It would not surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. With the amount of tentacles that were coming out of him, it wouldn't surprise me if he would have eventually turned into a kaiju. It wouldn't surprise me. Which is kind of funny because in part 6, one of the bad guys does turn to a kaiju like 3 times.
Mm.
Oh yeah, he does. I'm not even kidding.
That does not surprise me, especially like I see when I seen the mini series and I seen them advertising it and I seen the giant crocodile. I thought, am I missing out here? What is it really that good? But then when the reviews came out for the mini series on Netflix, I thought, no, I'm not going to even attempt to give this a chance. I know so many people who watch maybe 1 or 2 episodes and just switched it off.
That was me. That was one. I watched about 2 episodes. I'm like, I'm done. I'm good. Now, I just let it go at that point. I didn't say anything. I just put my controller down and just walked away. Like, I'm good. Okay, so all right, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 games came out in between there and 6. So I'm going to briefly touch on the Revelations games. The Revelations games are fun little side stories where Jill actually gets her memories back, and Jill is still fighting with her control from Wesker, but she actually joins the BSAA. The BSAA is a counter bioweapons control group that Chris is a part of as well, and they actually go off and they fight different bioweapons. And this is another game where you're actually on another cruise ship and you're trying to fight off bioweapons, and trying to fight off more conspiracies. But this game you're actually controlling Jill the whole time, so that's a fun game as well. I just repurchased that as well with the big sale for Resident Evil Requiem, so I look forward to playing that as well. Then there's Resident Evil Revelations 2, which, again, another fun side game. We're actually going to play as Claire Redfield again, finally. Like, seriously, they don't really show Claire a lot of fun, a lot of love in those games. But she gets a little play in the CG films, but not really in the games. Seriously, she was in Resident Evil 2. She was in Resident Evil 2, the remake, and she was in Revelations 2. It's like, did she do anything else? I'm sure she could do something else, but it's like, nah, you're good. So yeah, those are fun games. Just want to touch on those a little bit. Then we got Resident Evil 6. Okay. This probably could take me a half hour to explain Resident Evil 6 to you. All right, hold on. Need some water.
The graphics look good in this game.
Oh, this game looks amazing. However, remember when I said that Resident Evil 5 was the most actiony game?
Yes.
Turn this up to like maybe 50, and then you've got Resident Evil 6. Okay. So you had, remember in Resident Evil 2, I said that there you could play as Leon and Claire. You have 2 discs, and it's all fun and games and everything. Okay, in this, there are 4 campaigns. You can play as Leon with another character named Helena. The next campaign is Chris and Pierce.
Mhm.
The next campaign is Jake and Sherry. Yeah, Sherry Birkin. Yes, from Resident Evil 2, which, by the way, she's been upgraded as well, which we'll get into hers. And the 4th campaign is playing as Ada Wong solo. Each of these campaigns are all about 10 hours if you're just going about through it. Yes, so yeah, this is a very, very, very long game. Now, Leon's is the closest to what I would think a true Resident Evil game would be. He fights the closest thing to what zombies truly are. And you're trying to, and once again, the president is infected with a virus. We're dealing with the C virus now. Yes, the C virus. We got another virus going on now, the C virus. When his new partner in this game, Helena, her sister is actually kidnapped by a what is he? He's a guy that works in the government. His name's Simmons, and he wants to sell the C virus and get money. That's what all these guys want to do. They just want money. It's like, what's good's money in a world where you're going to infect everybody with a zombie virus? Like, what good's money going to do you when everybody's a zombie? It's like, what? Seriously, what do people think about this shit when they do this? But anyway, so he's blackmailing her by kidnapping her sister, and then he ends up infecting her with the virus anyway. It's like, gee, thanks. Yeah, you dickhead. So, sorry, I curse a lot. But anyway, so
I never fucking swear, me, Matt. Do I? I never swear.
Oh, I'm shocked. I am shocked.
I'm an angel.
So you have to, now you end up having to kill the president in this game because he turns into a zombie, and then you have to clear her name because she goes along with this because her sister was kidnapped. Meanwhile, Simmons is the main bad guy of this game. Then you play as Chris and Pierce, who are being manipulated by Ada, but it's not really Ada because Simmons really wanted to work with Ada, but Ada didn't want to work with Simmons, so Simmons took a woman and had her genetically cloned into a version of Ada, and then that clone turned on him, and Carla, her name's Carla. Yeah, okay.
This sounds like a soap opera.
Yeah. Oh, we're still going. We're still going. Okay. And then all of Chris's men get killed, and then Pierce hires Chris to then lead his group, and then Jake and Sherry. Jake is the son of Albert Wesker, which he doesn't act a thing like Wesker, by the way. It's like, you could have told me he was the son of William Birkin or anybody else, and it would make just as much sense. So Sherry wants the antibodies in his blood to help cure the C virus, but she has the G virus in her blood, so she's trying to offer him amnesty, but he wants $1 billion. So she's like, okay, I can try. And it's like, meanwhile, the C virus is being peddled to all these other militia groups. So it's like, meanwhile, Ada is kind of working against all of these people. Meanwhile, fake Ada is also working against all these groups as well. Mm-hmm. And then Simmons is playing all of these people against each other, meanwhile creating more bioweapons at the same time. And then we end up in China, where Simmons is injected with the C virus, and then he becomes a C virus rhinoceros-looking thing that can run as fast as a train, and they're like fighting him off. And then he becomes a Tyrannosaurus Rex C virus monster, and you have to drive around in a Hummer to fight him off. And then
they don't play the Jurassic Park music by any
chance
in that time.
Well, no, someone made a meme, and it's like, holy crap, it's a fucking dinosaur. Oh my god, it's oh my god. Someone did that. It's funny. It's really funny.
That did not surprise me.
And then after you kill him, he falls on a big spike, and then it creates the Umbrella logo, which, by the way, the human body doesn't have that much blood in it. And then after you kill him, and then after he's dead, which, remember, you don't die in these games for very long, he turns into a gigantic fly monster, which is like the size of a kaiju, and you have to stick like a metal rod in his chest and then having it struck by lightning to kill it. Eventually that kills him. And then that's the end of Leon's story. Chris and Pierce, which actually they have like, I wouldn't say they have they have the best story, where Chris and Pierce, they're actually having to have like a all military time. Eventually Pierce is infected with a version of the C virus, and he actually has to give his life to save Chris in a underwater laboratory. And Chris has to relive losing more men. You actually see like the horror in his eyes actually as he has to watch Pierce die. And it was a very emotional. That's as confusing and as batshit as this game is, it does hit some emotional scenes as well. Which there's no real up and downs from this game. Like all of these stories are all canon to each other as well. So there's no like preferred ending for all of them. They're all canon to each other. So you can play them in any order. So that's the cool thing about them. Except for Ada's, you have to play hers last, because you have to play all the other stories to get to Ada, which, okay. Then Jake and Sherry, which Jake, since he's part Wesker, he knows how to like do kung fu fighting, and he just like punches people really hard, and you have to fight the monster Ustanak, which is like Nemesis, but like without any of the charm. And Sherry, since she has the G virus in her, but they took it out of her, so she only has part of the G virus. She's now part Wolverine, so she had like this huge spike in her back. So when they pulled it out of her, healed. So then they go into their own little adventure, and eventually he gets his money, and he rides off into the sunset while wearing a pair of sunglasses like Wesker, but we've never seen him again since that. So there's that. And then he plays Ada, where she's mad that Carla was made in her image, and then you have to fight Carla, and she then takes over a battleship, and you have to then fight her on the battleship. And yeah, that's Resident Evil 6. It's insane.
Wow, it's insane. Like, it's a lot to take on, a lot to try and keep up with.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And then do you go straight into 7?
Yeah. Part 7 is this is like the most pure reboot to a franchise that there is. It's like the biggest palate cleanser, that you need. This is survival horror at its finest. So it stars Ethan Winters, whose wife goes missing for several years, and eventually he gets word from her that she's been found, and it's from her.
So So is this a reboot or is this just a continuation?
It's a continuation and a reboot as well. They're getting back to basics.
Back to
You know,
making
they're
it pure horror.
yes, because Resident Evil 6, even though it sold very well, people really did not care for the way how it went over. So they wanted to get back to basics. They really wanted to, have a palate cleanser. So they went back to what they showed off with Resident Evil 7. So Ethan goes to this home, the Baker estate, and Mia seems to, not be herself, and she's infected with what is called the mold, and so's the entire family, especially this one dude, Jack Baker, who is very much the nemesis of the game. Well, one of the big nemesis of the game. He's the stalker enemy of the game, and that's why one of the big taglines of the game is "Welcome to the family, son." And he's essentially unstoppable until his boss fight later in the game. It's a very gross game, but instead of zombies, you fight the mold creatures. They come out of the walls, they come out of the floors. They're essentially like xenomorphs, but they're made of mold. And
Alright.
and they're disgusting monsters. And you're given very limited resources, and you're essentially just a normal guy. You're not ex-military. You're not even a cop. You're not you're not even mall security. You're just a guy, and you just show up and trying to save your wife from not seeing her for a long time, not hearing from her for a long time. Then you just get word that you hear from her, and you rush to her. You want to just love her. But,
Yeah.
then things happen. But then come to find out that she's working for a group called The Connections, which is, once again, another company, kind of like Umbrella, where they're trying to create another bioterrorism group, another bioterroristic thing, and sell it, the mold. And eventually
the
you have.
mold, like the mold monsters are the, because obviously in the show and in a similar video game, The Last of Us, aren't them zombies like mole fungus zombies as well? In
Well,
the last,
those are from like the fungus. The mold is like from the mold is like more like a bacteria, where the fungus from The Last of Us is like from like the mushrooms and spores and stuff like that. They're similar, but not exactly. Well, no, they're quite different. See, no, because the mold in Resident Evil 7 are grown completely, where the I guess the whatever it is from Last of Us actually infects human beings.
right.
Where in the mold in Resident Evil 7, yeah, that actually creates the monsters from there. Now, what happens to the Baker family? It mutates them, but it doesn't like completely turn them into like what happens in like The Last of Us. So it's similar, but not exactly the same. But it does turn them crazy, like Marguerite Baker. It turns her into like a bug spider monster lady. Some say she's worse than Jack, but no, Jack's nuts, especially when he cuts your leg off with a shovel and then just like teases you with it. It's crazy. Now Marguerite's disgusting. I don't want to get into specifics why she's disgusting, but just watch some cutscenes online. She's gross.
Yeah.
So eventually, you do, also this brings back the choice situation as well, where you can actually save your wife, or you meet a character in the game named Zoe, and Zoe is actually helping you out throughout the game. She's giving you hints, she's giving you ways to figure out stuff, and you're given a antivirus. You can actually cure someone. You're only given one. You can choose to save your wife, or you can choose to save Zoe. And there are two decisions. You can, just pick one or pick the other. And there are consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is that the consequences aren't really that good or implemented that well. If you pick, well, do you want me to just tell you, or you want to look it up?
I'll look it up later.
Okay, so we're just going with that. So eventually, you do fight the final boss. You defeat them.
The Rock.
And then
The Rock, the final boss, is in this.
Oh yeah. If you smell what he's cooking. So yeah, you defeat them, you move on, and that's Resident Evil 7.
Now, Resident Evil, I guess the next one is The Village. Now, I heard nothing but positives and buzz about this game, especially the lead villain, who is that 6-foot-old woman with the hat on.
Oh, you're going to be disappointed. Oh, you're going to be disappointed.
What was the name of that character? Lady
Dimitrescu.
Yes. But apparently everyone was buzzing about when this trailer came out. Whether the game's good or not, I do not know. But
well, you're going to be disappointed when I tell you what they did with her. Yeah, let's just watch the little video. So, you return in this game as Ethan Winters, and Chris Redfield, comes back and he kills Mia, or is it Mia? Yeah, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So, Ethan is being transported, and the transport gets interrupted, and he ends up going to this village. Now, this game takes place in Romania. Which
nice.
This game is, a big take off of one of my favorite, genres. Romanian, kind of, stories, old stories, where Lady Dimitrescu is kind of like a vampire.
Yeah, mythology is in that.
Yeah. Thank you, mythology. I couldn't think of the word. Okay. Heisenberg. Yes, his name's Heisenberg. Okay. He's kind of like your Dr. Frankenstein of the game. Okay. Moreau, he's kind of like a creature from the Black Lagoon, which when we get to him, they actually have a really cool piece of cut content that they were supposed to do for him, but they apparently ran out of time or money. One of those two. They no one really say which one it is. And then we have the other one. Oh my God, I can't think of her name. I'll look it up real quick. And she is the ghost story kind of character. So you're inside of this village, and what is the main, soldier enemy of this game? Not zombies. Oh no, you don't fight zombies. You fight lichens. Yes, werewolves. Yes, wow. You fight lichens. And you have to deal with them. And then the first main boss of the game is Lady Dimitrescu. Yes, you have to go to her castle first to actually progress in the game, which is kind of a fault of the game. You have to go in order of this game. For other games, you have to kind of, it's almost like you go at your own pace. No. In this game, it's kind of a straight line. You go to Lady Dimitrescu, then you go to Donna Benevito. Yeah, that's her name. I just looked up. Then you go to Moreau, and then you go to Heisenberg, which I don't think that was the best game plan. They should have, gave you like carte blanche to go in the order that you wanted to.
So who is the main villain then in the game? If it's not the lady.
Her name is Mother Miranda. Mother Miranda actually created all of these 4 lords of this village. And Mother Miranda is actually the one pulling the strings, apparently the entire time, behind everything, apparently. Yes, Capcom is retconned that Mother Miranda is actually the one that actually motivated the 3 founders of Umbrella to actually create Umbrella. Yes, Yeah, that's one of the biggest retcons that they've created is in Mother Miranda, because Mother Miranda is apparently immortal, not unkillable, but immortal. And apparently, she motivated them to do all that, and they made Umbrella in, you know, as a thanks to her, pretty much. It's like, oh, okay, that's a thing. And it's not a deal breaker, but it's like, okay, whatever. So anyway, first stop is Castle Domitresk, and you fight the daughters, and then you fight Lady Domitresk, and that's it. She's the first boss you fight, and then it's done. It's like really, like you really showed her off like the entire time. Like she was gonna be like this big, big baddie.
Yeah.
It's like no, like
Yeah,
then
like I say, I'd seen like gameplay and I had seen the trailer. I'd seen she'd been pretty much hyped from day one as being like the big bad, or it come across like she was going to be the big bad. Like I guess they were gonna, like, in my opinion, they were trying to hype her up, like, you know how a Nemesis got all this hype for the third game to be like this big larger than life character, which she did become a fan favorite. I felt as if that's what they were gonna try and do with her.
well, she was interesting, but yeah, pretty much you fight the daughters, you defeat them, and then she gets angry the entire time. Every time you defeat a daughter, she gets madder and madder, and then you fight her. You stab her with like a dagger that has the blood of a family member on her, which interacts with her blood, and she turns into like a dragon looking thing. And then you defeat her, and that's it. It's like, oh. And then you move on, and then you fight well, you don't really fight. You actually go to the actual really big horror set piece of the game, Donna Benevito's house, which they strip you of all of your weapons. And this is like a survival thing. You have to solve puzzles, and you have to deal with the baby, which is a giant unborn baby that actually stalks the hallways. And if it catches you, it eats you in one bite. And then after that, then Donna Benevito actually doesn't really speak. She actually speaks through her dolls, like the ventriloquist from Batman. And once you defeat that, then you move on to Moreau. Moreau is, once again, it's like the almost creature from Black Lagoon kind of thing, but not really. Which actually, at one point, they actually had mermaid villains actually planned out for him. So if you were actually trapped in water, they would actually swim up and instant kill you. Or if you got close to the water, they would actually start singing and put you in a daze and then drag you to your death. But they cut them for some reason. And then you deal with him. And then you go to Heisenberg. And Heisenberg has his machine army, and you fight him. Which actually, there's this other really cool boss battle. It is a massive helicopter blade on the end of another machine man looking thing, which is a callback to a film, once again, which people are saying is a direct ripoff of this film. But once again, what we were talking about earlier, they Capcom likes to directly be inspired by all these other films. So I don't know if that. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, yeah, I'm just agreeing. Like we've talked about before, the references with Terminator. You've mentioned that you can tell some of the games have references like connecting to Alien, where things look like xenomorphs. Like how it bursts out of people's chests and things. So, like I say, a lot of these creators of games will take inspirations from films and horror movies or things of that nature that have inspired them within the confines of these games. I'm really surprised, actually, that they haven't created a character that reminds you of Freddy Krueger or Jason or Michael Myers or Pinhead. I'm sure there are some that have similarities of those characters.
Well, in the game of Lady Domitresk, when you're fighting, when you're trying to avoid her, she actually grows her nails out really, really long, and she stabs you with them. So it's kind of almost like a Freddy Krueger-esque thing. She doesn't attack your dreams, but she does, slash at you at one point. So
So she's like 10 foot, isn't she? She's like a really tall woman.
yeah, yep.
And
Yes.
apparently she was the inspiration behind her being so tall is because of a model, I believe. She was based on a model.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the name of the model, but she was based on a model, I believe, the character. Let's see, I'm sure I've seen somewhere she was based on a model. Female lady. Helena Mankowska. She was a Polish model. She was based on her, and she was voice acted by Maggie Robertson.
Looks just like her.
Yeah, and even the woman who does the voice acting for her actually. So obviously she was inspired by that model, but they've clearly used the looks of the voice actor is a actual face and look. She actually won a Game Award for her performance in that role in the game.
It was she did a great job. She was a strong performance. I just wish she was, a bigger part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So once you deal with height, well, it's actually kind of funny. It turns into actually a tank battle at one point where you fight Heisenberg. Because Heisenberg has magnetic powers for some reason. Yeah, he can actually, bend metal. And it's funny, there's actually a mod out there where they actually put classic Magneto's costume on his body in the game. And later in the game, he actually puts a giant like a metal suit around his body. It's about the size of like a T-Rex, which is funny when you talk about dinosaurs. And then Chris Redfield, he shows up in this game as well, and he gives you a tank-esque looking thing. You actually get into a tank battle with him, which is ridiculous, but fun, but ridiculous. And you fight him, you defeat him, and then Mother Miranda shows up. Turns out Mother Miranda was actually posing as Mia for several years, and she's wanted Ethan and Mia's daughter to rebirth her daughter, because she wants to have like the ultimate vessel for her ultimate creation, for her future projects as well. She wants her daughter to live again. Well, she doesn't want to deal with Ethan anymore, so she rips his heart out, literally, and Ethan dies.
So the main person who's been in from the first game gets his heart ripped out and dies.
No, Ethan was he was only in part 7.
Oh, part 7.
Yep. So then you take over and you play as Chris then. And then we go into like a full-on action game again. And then you find out where he's heading to. He's going to where Mother Miranda's future project is called the Megamycete, which is where she wants to, fuse the baby, their daughter, Rose. It's funny. It's Rose with this Megamycete. They want to fuse them together to, create this, ultimate being, pretty much, and recreate her daughter. And he wants to blow it up and then just completely end all of this. He finds Mia. She's still alive, which, great, good. And then come to find out, Ethan is still alive, even without a heart. It turns out in part 7, Ethan died. It's like, wait a minute. Jack cut his foot off with a shovel, and he just used some green herb juice, and it just grew back together. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. It's like, because he was infected with the mold early on in the game with that. So he hasn't been human this entire time. So that means that Rose hasn't been human this entire time. Their daughter hasn't been human either. And essentially, he's been dying this entire time anyway. But he can live without vital, organs as well. He doesn't need his heart. So he resurrects, and then we go into the final battle of Ethan versus Mother Miranda. And it's a really good fight. She keeps turning the lights off, and you have to fight her with all your best weapons. And eventually you do kill her. And you have the most heartbreaking ending of all of the games together. Now, I would have said that Ada falling to her death would have been like the worst one because, having to let a loved one go, that's pretty hard thing to do. But when you're holding your daughter, when you're dying, and then Chris is like, come on, I found Mia. It's time to go. And you're dying. He wraps his coat around her and says, take care of her, raise her right. And then he pushes him away, and he has the detonator. And then, they get away on the helicopter. And then he detonates it, and he blows up the Megamycete. And then he dies with it as Chris and Mia, escape. And there's that. That's the end of Resident Evil Village.
But
now there is some DLC, but
no, you know what? That's happened, but the likelihood they could always bring his character back in the future. Because, like you say, no one seems to stay dead in these games.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's loads of downloadable games like after that one, and you can like do the DLCs and that. But the stories, like what you've told it, is very compelling, but it's also quite complicated. Like it would take me a while to fully take it all in. Like I'm listening, and I've listened, and some of it I understood, some of it I was confused by, and then you've done a good job explaining it all. But I'm glad the movies aren't as complicated as the games, though. The movie storytelling. And then since you've brought it up, the next game was this one, which is the one you're currently playing. And obviously, you haven't completed the game yet, but how are you finding this game?
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. You play as both Grace Ashford, which is an FBI agent, and you play as Leon Kennedy, which is a government agent. And you switch between both characters. Now, Grace is more survival horror because she's not an action hero. So you have to more sneak around, and you can't really take on enemies, up front like you can with like Leon. Her guns aren't, big, macho, powerful guns. They're more for like stunning and moving around. Also, and we were talking about the remake of Resident Evil. Remember I was talking about the Crimson Heads?
Yes.
They brought that back in Requiem. So if you kill a zombie and you don't destroy their head, they'll come back even stronger, which means it makes your game even tougher to play as Grace. Now, if you play as Leon, he's got all the guns that you need to take care of every single zombie. So you'll just like sail right through. Now, I'm only about maybe halfway done with Leon, so we'll see what happens. As far as the story, I don't know exactly where it's going, but it's great. It's absolutely great.
Right. So another out of all of the games you mentioned, what if you had to put them in order from least favorite to favorite? What order would you put them in? From 7 to 1. So just from 1 to 7. If you had to put them in order, though, from your least favorite to favorite.
Well, there's 8 as well. Village.
Oh well, 8. Yeah. Well, 8.
Ooh. My least favorite would be 6. Okay. 6. Then I'd say 5. Then, it's gonna be tough. The toughie. Then I'd say 3. Then I'd say 7. Then I'd say 8.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say 4, then 1, then 2.
Yeah, I thought 2 would be your favorite because you
Yeah.
really love that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then again, I love all of them. It's just some of them hit a little harder than others.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But the story's complicated, but the characters are really compelling. I just wish they made the films as compelling as the games. But it's a long-standing game series that's gonna probably continue to grow, continue to spout of games, animation, more live action, figures, you name it. It's a multi-million pound franchise that's not giving up steam just yet. And I am quite looking forward to the rebooted film that is in development, which, as you know, it's being created by the director who made Barbarian and Weapons. Now, as you know, Weapons is doing quite well in the award ceremony. I forgot her name off the top of my tongue, but the actress who plays Gladys in that game has just won the Actors Guild Award for Best Supporting Actress. So it's Amy something, her name is. But anyway, the fact that horror is getting, a lot of buzz within the world of the award ceremonies, it's about damn time. Because horror's always been seen as like the dark child of entertainment, but you need to remember the likes of The Shining and all that. Misery, Kathy Bates won the Best Academy Award in a horror film, aka Misery. So it's nice to see horror get some sort of recognition for once, and for a long time it wasn't. There's supposed to be a Gladys prequel film in the development as well. But going back to Resident Evil, a lot of people were worried when they heard reboot, especially the fact that the films kind of, like you see, the first couple of movies were quite interesting, and then it's kind of like plateaued for me. And then the mini series didn't do good, the one that was mentioned off Netflix. But I think when it comes to the reboot, I think the fact that the director of Weapons is doing it, it could be in good hands. Because I liked Weapons and I quite like Barbarian.
Weapons was great. I still haven't seen Barbarian.
Barbarian's different. It's unique. It's like some people hate it, some people don't. But I thought it was different and unique. I quite liked it. The ending was weird, but I still enjoyed it. But anyway, Matt, aka Gojira 851, this has been an absolute blast. I could just sit here and listen to you talk about Resident Evil all night, but we can't sit here all night.
Yeah.
We've got things to do. You've got shopping to get. I've got things to do, but I've got more insight in the main story arc of Resident Evil, and I like how it's a mixture of pure horror, science, military, action. It can be heartbreaking at times. It can be batshit crazy at times. But that is what makes these games fun, and it's kept the games going, and it's kept the fan base keep coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, what's coming up on your channel? If you got anything planned, is there anything coming up on your channel?
Nothing yet. Still working things out.
Well, I'm sure you'll let me know when the time is right. But you do some amazing content when you get the opportunity to do it. As for me, yeah, lots of great unboxing videos. If you're into your kaiju, as you can see right behind him, huge kaiju fan like myself. So if you're a big fan of Godzilla and kaiju in general, go check out Gojira 851's channel. As for me in the entertainment headquarters, what is coming up? So next Saturday, the 7th, I believe, of March, it's the next retro classic movie show. We're doing Miss 45. That is Anubis's pick. And then the following Sunday, we're doing the next Kaiju Connections classic film review, and it's going to be Reptilicus. So that's going to be, yes, that's going to be fun. And then on the 10th of March, we're doing Into the Darkness, and it's the Critters franchise. So that's what's coming up on the channel for now. I also have a blog I'm working on because I did go to see Talking Sopranos, which was a fantastic podcast discussion with two members of the cast of Sopranos, Michael Leopinoli, and I think it's Steve. I can never say his name right. Steve Sharipa, I think he played Bobby in the show. They were brilliant. They just had loads of backstories about the cast and like what it was like working on the show, how they were like a real Italian family, all close knit together. They had laughs, they had tears. It was just a great environment to be on. And some of the craziness they got up to while filming The Sopranos over them years. And of course, they also did an amazing tribute to James Gandolfini, who played Mr. Tony Soprano himself. But that's what's coming up on the entertainment headquarters. I hope you've enjoyed this. And please like, share, and subscribe to the entertainment headquarters. Please like, share, and subscribe to Gojira 851. This has been education. This has been Resident Evil. We'll catch us all at the next one.